शुक्लां ब्रह्मविचारसार परमा आद्यां जगद्व्यापिनी वीणा पुस्तकधारिणीम् अभयदा जाड्यान्धकारापहा हस्ते स्फाटिकमालिकां विदधती पद्मासने संस्थिता वन्दे तां परमेश्वरीं भगवती बुद्धिप्रदां शारदा
My name is Aditya Moona, and I am a member of the MVPM Scholars Committee. After my post-graduation studies in pharmacy and business management, I plunged into a career with the pharmaceutical industry, growing from a medical representative to the head of a large pharma company. While I sold medicines for nearly 4 decades and successfully too, I was always fascinated with the alternative ways of being healthy without medicines, and therefore started my second career journey to work on and promote holistic wellness, floating a company, Cura Wellness Private Limited. I am a certified life skills and wellness practitioner, trainer, and coach. I discovered my passion, and so have the speakers of today's webinar, Nikhil and Nishant Rathi. The brothers, Nikhil and Nishant Rathi, followed their passion in the field of IT. As teenagers, I believe Nikhil was just 17 and Nishant 15 when they started designing and hosting websites. What started as a bedroom startup with passion, courage, and strategic planning, the brothers have built 3 noteworthy businesses with 2,500 employees, several development centers, and offices in USA, UK, Australia, Japan, and Italy. Nikhil and Nishant are the founder directors of Webworks, which runs data centers at multiple locations in India and beyond. Neosoft Technologies, which offers IT services and software solutions globally. And Nextstart Venture Capital, which invests in technical startups and supports founders. No wonder, and it is not surprising, that Webworks is a Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology empaneled cloud provider and one of the 10 such providers to the government for its Meghraj Cloud initiative. Both brothers, Nikhil and Nishant, are graduates in commerce with post graduation in computer science. The brothers went on to do their MBA in marketing from Nichols School College in the United States. Today, Nikhil and Nishant will candidly share with us their entrepreneurial journey and lessons learned during the process. So let's hear from them.
Yeah,
Friends, this is a program by the Maheshwari Youth, for the Maheshwari Youth, and will be moderated by Pratik Mandhania. Pratik works as a senior consultant with Bain and Company and advises companies to run their businesses. Someday, hopefully, in not very distant future, he will start his own business. Pratik is an MBA from IIM Bangalore, and above all, he is a MVPM scholar. With a thumbs up, let's welcome Mr. Nikhil and Mr. Nishant Rathi for the session on the topic Digital Transformation for ATMANIRBHAR Bharat. For, in the words of the Prime Minister Modi, this decade will belong to the Indian entrepreneurs. Over to you, Pratik, for conducting this session. And thank you all very much for a patient listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aditya uncle, for that fantastic introduction. And Sabko, Jai Mahesh, thank you so much for joining today. An absolute pleasure to be hosting Nikhil Ji Rathi and Nishant Ji Rathi on this pleasant Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning, in fact. And this entire initiative by MVPM to host webinars on the topic of entrepreneurship comes in at a very exciting time, and we'll talk a little bit about why it's a very exciting time in conversation with Nikhil Ji and Nishant Ji. But the overarching theme that we'll have today is talking about how do we start entrepreneurship early, right? How do we encourage entrepreneurship early? And there's no one better to talk about that than the two brothers sitting here who started pretty much at in their teenagers, essentially, right, at the ages of 15 and 17. So there is absolutely no one better to talk about that. And just a note to the audience, and we have more than 90 people already participating, so that's a great kind of turnout. हम आज इसको दो parts में divide करेंगे. पहले part में we will talk about Nikhil ji and Nishant ji's journey, the high points, low points, and entrepreneurship kind of path. Talk about the next set of themes they're seeing that will play out in India, especially when we talk about ATMANIRBHAR Bharat, and digital is going to be playing a big role in that. And then उसके बाद हम थोड़ा time रखेंगे last में where we hopefully have a very special guest joining. We'll keep that as a surprise. There was a last minute kind of change we made to the schedule, and also keep a lot of time for audience question answers. So audience के question answers हम लेंगे. तो आप please just keep sending them. आप chat में वो भेजते रह सकते हैं हमें, and we'll keep a note. And last में हम सारे question answers साथ में करेंगे once we've heard from Nikhil ji and Nishant ji, right? So I'll start off the discussion, and एकदम शुरुआत से शुरू करते हैं निखिल जी, Nishant ji. And let's start with you telling all of us about where you started off, right? Like कहाँ इसकी शुरुआत हुई थी? What was it that sparked off? What was the motivation? And encouraging entrepreneurship early, how did that really play out for you?
Thanks Pratik. Thanks Mr. Moona for having us here on this lazy Sunday. Yeah, and I think we've got a great set of people already, and I think Maheshwaris in general, there are a lot of inspirational people inside our community, like when I first talked to you guys also, I said the Maheshwari community itself, right, is the community which contributes to the entrepreneurship mind and the entrepreneurship culture that is inbuilt into every one of us, as part of the community. So happy to be here. I think Nishant and us both are happy to be here to, kind of contribute positively to the Maheshwari ecosystem, and also drive up the entrepreneurship what do you call, spark in whoever's out here, whoever's in the future looking at the video or considering it. So yeah, when we started our entrepreneurship journey, I was 17, and yeah, so like I was hearing, there are a lot of chartered accountants among us. I think that's one of the best degrees that are there around, apart from MBAs. But what happened was we were being groomed. My dad was in service with the Bangalore group. He's IT Roorkee, FMS Delhi alumni. Uh, we were being groomed for service. We were, being groomed as commerce graduates. Get a chartered accountancy degree. Do an MBA, deadly company secretary, uh, a master of multiple, fields. So what happened was we used to always like computers. When I was me and Nishant, when we were, dad always brought computers in, and dad being from a, technical IT Roorkee background, was fascinated. And that time computers were not as, uh, available
Common,
everywhere, as
yeah.
common as they are. So 64K machine to x86, 8086, and then moving forward. So computers were always fascinating. I think both of us in our earlier years learned what people learn in engineering later on, C, C++ and stuff. So the technical thing was always there. I mean, that technical curiosity was always there. And in 1996, what typically happened was, so what we started was, on the time, my dad allowed us to be extremely free with what we played around. People generally restrict computer time and stuff, but we were not. We were unrestricted on all of that. So always had this thing that, okay, let's do this, let's do that, build a bulletin board service, let people connect into it. So the technical incline was there. In school, also my dad allowed us to be part of and this is something that's very important. How we triggered it off way back in school. My dad allowed us to go in and sell UNICEF cards. I've done that as a charitable work, part of the UNICEF community in school. Part of that was always fun to be treasurer, secretary and stuff. So me and him, we both used to go out, and I'm going back in time, because it's very important on how the seed is actually sown into kids, earlier on. And
this is fifth standard, sixth standard
Yeah,
days when
yeah.
we would actually go out and sell those cards, collect that money, give it back to the club in school. And that was like the most exciting thing, because you would meet so many people. You'd go knocking at doors, ting tong in the afternoon to people, and sleeping people in the afternoon, waking them up, and selling those cards over there. It was very exciting. I think that inculcated that sense of ownership, responsibility, to make sure that what's given to you, you've got to go ahead and execute that and finish these cards off, get that revenue. And of course, it was for charity after all.
So even that time, I remember there was something known as IBM Storyboard, and I'm going to tell you, because this is how the seed was sown by someone who was in service, right? And how it actually started, because what happened was there was something known as IBM Storyboard, and I knew that, and we had a computer at home. Dad told me, you know it, why don't you go and teach people? So I took we had a dot matrix printer. I printed it out. There was no Xerox machine that time. I created probably like 50, 80 printouts, went around Prabhadevi. So both Bombay Scottishites went around Prabhadevi. This was, I think, fifth standard or something like that. Little kid, fifth standard boy, going around with a printout, learn storyboard. I will charge you what, a couple of 100 rupees, right? And or even free if you like it. And we went around different societies. I mean, went there, ting dong, uncle, would you like to learn storyboard? I will teach it. We got 0 students, 0. Nobody wants to learn from kids, right? But the ability to ring the bell, right, and explain. People took us in. They were great people. They took us into their houses. They are just storyboard kya hota hai? That kind of thing. Then it culminated into, oh, okay, let's do this UNICEF thing. And of course, the teacher over there, Mrs. George, was very kind. I became the youngest secretary and then treasurer of that particular group. That also spurred it on. You kind of get little awards around designations and other things earlier on in life. So you're like, oh, cool, I'm the youngest secretary or youngest treasurer in school. So that ringing the bell, going in the afternoon after school when people are actually lazing around and explaining to them, this is helping kids, please buy a pack, do this. That inculcated, of course, every entrepreneur is a top salesman. So one thing we must always inculcate is sales, right? How you can, without any inhibitions, without anything holding you back, go in and talk to people, right? You shouldn't have any inhibitions about that. That was inculcated earlier on by dad. Then what happened was I ran a bulletin board service, and Nishant was always my partner in crime. He's 2 years younger, actually less than 2 years, but he's always been my partner in crime in all of this. So I ran a bulletin board service, and that culminated into experience on telecommunications. When the internet came and got the students account, then I wrote the first set of code, which was known as Blue Laser, which was allowed you on a shell account. You had that links text type student 1996 to see graphics, what you see the internet today, using certain kinds of breaks. BSNL kind of blocked that, but I opened it up again. And then we were just going around making sure we picked up the stuff. Nishant was picking up all the compilation and stuff, and web traffic and how to do all of that. And what happened in 96 is one guy approached us, still remember the first customer, Jamru Trading Company. But people on the internet wanted to export stuff, and you never forget your first customer's name.
So the website was purely a website, a export tool where you could list your products and try and get people from America. That was the only target market for people who wanted to come up with a website. So we went ahead, went to these people, presented. He said, he had other bigger companies. When I say bigger companies, there were ad agencies who were doing this, and they had no clue how to build a website. So they would do it in Word, convert it to HTML, and then upload it. And it was very simple to even get listed on Google. Today there are companies which only do Google listing or only promote you on social media. At that point in time, you would go and just list yourself in probably like 7 search engines. And the next day you would get listed there. Third day you would start getting inquiries. So there we started with Jamru Trading, built up a very simple HTML website for them. I still remember I did a few of the images and the HTML on that. As far as the execution, speaking to the client was easy because we used to go door to door selling these cards. So picking up the phone, talking to somebody, or even meeting them, person to person was not really if I look at some of the kids who've not been exposed, at 15 they'll be like, how do I talk to this guy? It's difficult. Phone utha ke kaise baat karu isse. So we were able to do that. I believe the initial years that dad pushed us to do all these interesting things, as I may put it, really put us ahead of all the other people and helped us promote the business step by step and grow it year on year. So once we got this first client in, we started thinking, how do we bring in the second, the third, and the fourth? And there we were. We got in the second, third, fourth client. The day we got this first check of just 1,500 rupees from the first client, we brought it to dad and we told him, this is what we have. And dad had this private limited company which he used to use for various things. So it was in that name. We didn't even have Webworks as a name at that point in time. So we gave it to him and he was like, you've got to return this back because you've got to complete your studies. And he told mom, paisa dekh ke dono ka dimag kharab ho jayega. So we need to return this money back and let them focus on their studies. This is going the wrong way. And ye kya hai, 1500 rupees, tomorrow they'll get 3,000 and that's it. Padai vadai will go in the back seat. And he was in 12th standard. And I was, obviously 8th standard and, moving forward. So finally Nana ke paas gaye. And Nana, he's always been a businessman. He's no more, expired 8 years ago. But he's always been a businessman. And he told dad, he said, let the kids have fun. मजा करने दे, बोर हो जाएंगे, थक जाएंगे, कस्टमर थका देंगे, फिर अपने आप सब खत्म हो जाएगा. But that was not to be. So I believe even he's played a very good role in pushing us to do different things and get to where we have today.
Yeah. So by the way, we at that point of time also, dad was a top executive in the Bangur Group, Sri Synthetics. We had 2 cars available to 2 drivers, 2 cars, right? But we traveled by train, we traveled by BST bus, right, to go to the client to meet him. I hardly had mustaches at that point of time, right? But I kept them on, a little bit of them, a little bit faint mustaches, right? To go to the client so that he doesn't think I'm an underage guy, under 18. So I think those are all learnings. You would go into a client and he'd look at you and say, तुम्हारी उम्र क्या है? We deflect that.
तुम भाग जाओगे
पैसा लेके 1500 रुपए लेके भाग जाओगे या कुछ. But again, one of the other things was dad always made sure that there was a support at the back. Once Nana said that, okay, you guys can, you inko karne do, ye karne do, then nobody stopped us. That first check went to the bank, and then there was no stopping, because at that point in time, there were very few people doing websites and stuff, and we knew our stuff. I mean, Nishant learned graphics also, right? To make sure that, at that point on, people didn't know Photoshop, and we were doing Photoshop. We were doing lots of other stuff, which probably a company having at least 50, 60 lakh rupees available to them, they were doing, or 2 crores of the ad agencies, which were large. What also happened was the ad agencies came to us.
We started getting subcontracting work.
Yeah.
So while they had a whole lot of bigger customers, say the Tata Group or whatever, they would subcontract some of the pages to us and say, okay, give it to these guys. Can you turn it around and take the money? So that helped us scale up as well. We learned, and of course, we were working for some of the top groups. So we realized that these guys are doing nothing different. We are executing the work for them. So we can step up and actually go to the bigger company. So one of the first big groups that we actually signed up was the Tata Power group. And that was a journey. We've witnessed talking to the CEOs at Tata Power, and being kids, going there in t-shirts and talking to them about doing their website, winning the contract over a biggish ad agency. When I talk about a biggish ad, you talk about the Mudras of the world at that point in time, who were really digitally ahead of the traditional ones who would just do hoardings. So yeah, that was a great experience. And then again, from there we realized the scale is in going after the bigger ones. Of course, we never and don't forget the smaller ones. We till date have the first I would say the first 10 customers that we signed up 23 years ago, 24 years ago, they still are customers. They're in some way or the other connected. They call either of us and talk to us about various things, and of course how the company's grown and what we can do to help them out. Yeah. There's another notable customer that I can talk about. That was this coal mining company. And there was this second generation guy or third generation guy who had joined the business. He was US educated. He came, he told his uncles and his father, the typical family business, Gujarati family business, that let's do this internet thing, US mein bahut chalta hai, and we'll get orders. They were only doing India. He came, they were reluctant. They were like, why should we be spending this 10, 15, 20,000 rupees on this website when we were running business? And you'll be amazed that they launched their first 2 websites. They still have that with us. And the third day they got an inquiry which was equivalent to the entire production which they had in the last year. And this guy, bang on, this guy was in business. He was now commanding his uncles and telling them how to run the business, because he explored something new. He pushed it, the disruptive nature. Otherwise, traditional businesses are like, sab chal raha hai to theek hai, chalne do, be happy, life is good, and let's just carry on. So yeah, starting from there, there have been a lot of people who've supported us, specifically family members, of course. And it's been quite a journey since then.
I won't forget. I went to, Nishan mentioned Tata Power. I went to Tata Power. I'm being extempo here. Went to Tata Power. Dad told me bada group hai. He never told me don't go ahead and do. He thought bachcha jayega kya hoga. Went and sat in a cabin with the EA of ADI engineer at that point of time, and Mr. Venkatram. He also played a great role because he trusted the business with someone who was a kid like me. And over there, we walk in, I speak to him, and I said, we'll do it. Trusted it. Took me straight to the CEO, ADI engineer of Tata Power that time. And ye bacha kar lega. ADI put his hands on my shoulder and said, beta tum hamare pe try karte hain, chalo, let's do it, karo. And I was sitting with Zal engineer about 2 years later on Tata Power broadband, which then became the Tata Communications thing that is there today. So I think the experience has been, entrepreneurship has been fun. If you follow your passion in school, people have helped us, and again, entrepreneurship and success are circumstantial. So if you find the right people and you get the right opportunities, if you grab them at the time, those people play a very critical role. Our family has helped us a lot. Our dad has been very supportive, to allow us. Yes, I, was doing my chartered accountancy, Nishan too, and inter CA first attempt, Nishan first attempt through, right? Going and telling your dad, Papa, मेरे को यार ये करना नहीं है. Company secretary also inter cleared, by the way, first attempt. Now the idea is going and telling my dad, पापा ये आप करवाना चाहते हो कर लेंगे लेकिन मजा नहीं आ रहा है. आप ये क्या करूं? And dad taking that call कि बेटा तेरे लिए disqualification है, छोड़ दे. So right, focus on what you're doing.
So I was
a big call.
I was
big
lucky
support.
there. He came to me and he said, "Do you really want to do this? It's going to be a disqualification for you, and you'd rather do a master's degree in business and just run this business. You guys are doing well. So do you really want to do this?" And that's where you take a call. Inter, you drop out again. I ranked in the what do you call the first level of foundation course. I ranked on that. I ranked in my BCom as well. So leaving that, all my friends are chartered accountants, lawyers. So they've always, again, they've helped in, various phases of our business as well. And of course, the BCom degree as such, which, is, I would say there is a lot of respect for it. But I would say that has set the foundation right for where we are today. Reading a balance sheet, looking at a P&L, making sure that everything's green and you have profits in there. How do you adjust and adjust your expenses and keep looking at that? That has really helped us also. Yeah. So a number of mentors on the way, a number of people who tried their hand. It's like somebody giving you the cap and say, "Ja jaake batting kar le." So a lot we've had those kind of moments as well.
Yeah, it's been So then from then on, I think Webworks was a division of my dad's private limited company. We took that forward. What also happened was we were doing web hosting, part of web design, also web hosting. And I'm talking about 96 people didn't even know what web design was. Web kya hota hai? Everybody was getting introduced to, people wanted exports, right? So what typically happened was we were hosting them. We took some space on, there used to be these free sites called GeoCities and Tripod. People didn't even have domain names. So I booked my first domain name called www.india.com. And inside that Jamroot trading company had a www.india.com/Jamroot. And all the customers, there were no domain names, used to be $100. It's a lot of money. How do you send that abroad? Lot of restrictions on sending money abroad. So all well said and done. That's how we kept building up. That's how we got chemical companies and all signed up. All while I was going to college, Nishan was going to college and school as well, different times. So all well said and done. I used to do my college, go out after college hours, attend CA classes in Tardev for 5 or 6 hours, kapasi bide, and then evening jaake logon ke yahan pe milna in their offices and stuff. So we been there, done that. Post that, Webworks also became one of the top 3 reseller hosting companies because we wrote our own control panel systems, which at that point was very unique. So we became one of the top 3 here. We had about 5,000 resellers, and we progressed this. And in the interim, also to generate free cash flow, we would take on opportunities. I wouldn't forget, we had this situation. We take on, naturally, money on the table. Why should you leave it? So that is another thing that we learned earlier on. Of course, now we're very much more focused, and we don't leave. We don't participate in any other events just like that. But when the Chernobyl virus came, and there was an opportunity to probably make recover stuff, we were technically strong. People all over Bombay were sending their drives to us for recovery. We had our first 2-3 employees sitting over there recovering drives all night, and we were making money on that. So generating capital, right, was very important. It just came naturally, it just, the opportunity presented itself. We went and took it, right? So same way, we've also worked on one thing that we would always, whatever we would invest, we would try to recover. Whether we bought a CD-ROM drives were extremely expensive, and for a small company which is making a few lakhs, right, in its first year, we would, the CD-ROM costing 60 grand was a lot of money. So find somebody to recover the cost of that capital that you've invested. And we found customers who would want us to, so we got into multimedia, right? So at that point of the word multimedia was a very big thing. So we created 1% multimedia by to kar. and we would outsource some of the stuff to experts or people like us who shared the passion. They would go and meet as us, and we would even pick up that business. So we made lots of CD-ROMs. We made for, I think, the CRM Pudar group. We made for
and we
a lot of
upsold,
names.
we even upsold to the same customers. So even Tata Power, for example, we made stuff for them. I call this blood money because as an entrepreneur, when you start your business, you end up doing everything, and so did we. And then when you get a windfall opportunity where you say, I'm going to earn so much money over here, it's a 2-month story. Chernobyl virus, for example, I remember I fixed close to 100 hard drives in a matter of 3-4 days. I used to sit nights in the office after all the work was over, make sure, remove the drives, put them in, get people recover the data and do that. And we made a good amount of cash at that point in time, during that that 1 month period when the virus was there and people had lost data. But I have come to call that blood money. And entrepreneurs have to realize that you can do that initially, but later on you have to value your time. You have to value every minute. Even if you're thinking of a windfall opportunity, always look at it, what's going to happen next year. You're going to expand because you made more money this year, but then if that money is not coming in the year after this one, how are you going to deal with the expansion? And there may not be any windfall. In fact, there may be a fall like COVID, which comes in, unnoticed. Again, we've seen a lot of ups and downs in the last 20 plus years. 2008, even the year 2000, before the 99, we got a whole lot of, during the dot-com boom, we would get people walking with bags of cash and say, "Mujhe Yahoo banana hai, ya mujhe Google banana hai." Google wasn't there, by the way, at that. They were just, starting off in the 2000s. So people didn't know about the Google search engine, but Yahoo, Alta Vista, these were the search engines. So they would come and say, "Yahoo banana hai mujhe." And we were like, "Yahoo aise nahi banta. You can't just have a bag of cash. You need an entire team to create and we probably weren't the right company for them at that point in time. I mean, India mein koi bhi nahi tha jo who would be able to build Yahoo for them at that time. Even engineers were getting trained to do software development. The likes of the TCS and Infosys were in product development. They weren't into web development or application development on the internet at all.
Yeah. So, then we became a top 3 reseller web hosting company in India. We were having a lot of, again, that's natural transition from being web design to web host to reseller host to writing our stuff. So the opportunities came. We evaluated that and kept moving forward. And of course, the occasional windfall blood money gain that we had was always available.
Moved in from the bedroom to 120 square feet
office. Yes.
With 5 or 6 people could sit in there. We had a small little cabin. And yeah, it was fun day. So if you put the aircon on in the cabin, you'd be cold while the other people wouldn't be
hot outside.
So yeah, that's how the office started off. But yeah, it was fun times. We would go back to the office. We had space which was our own, where we could work weekends, we could work late nights, we could do whatever we wanted. And Dad was very supportive in that, and helped us get that first office, which we just sold off a few years ago because it was emotionally very close to us.
Yeah. And by the way, that was also a chartered accountant's office, right, that we picked up. So that's how we progressed. And, then the dot-com boom came, we capitalized on that. We were some of the elite setups, which could basically do common gateway interface programming, which people didn't know that's what was required for web programming at that point of time. And made money out of, while people told us, portal banao, valuation karo, Bangalore labs bano, ye karo, wo karo. And we said, bhai, jab paise kama rahe hain, focus on the money, right? So when paise kama rahe hain, to paise kamate hain na. Log aa rahe hain, bag leke Bajaj Hindustan aa raha hai, bol raha hai, mera e-sugar India portal bana ke do. Paise banate hain. Why do we want to even get into something and try to be, create that dot-com boom culture, keep up, build a pool table, play pool, everybody in jeans. And that time that was like radical thinking. But we didn't do that. We kind of made money. We stayed consistent with our thing. We also created, and that time, the internet lease lines and all were not available. So ISDN was available. We actually started our, that time we got the idea, why don't we host in India? Because in India, I always thought that it was important that, it's like a Super Mario game. The faster you finish the game and reach the end and you pull the flag, the more points and, you can go to the next
bonuses,
level, the bonus you get. So the same thing happens in eyeballs. And because we were creating portals, we understood that which Rediff kind of people, Rediff.com was big. And Rediff kind of people kind of understood that. So we said, why don't we host in India? The first company that we actually hosted in India out of a garage. We created a small little hosting facility in a garage and put air conditioners there. The real technology wasn't there. So we put air conditioners, got a line in, and Tata Finance, they were okay hosting out of that. We got Tata Finance, we got those kind of names over there. Bajaj Hindustan, they were hosting. There was no word as data center per se, right? So did that, been there, done that. Again, moved on. Hosting in the US was popular. We were hosting in the US. We were doing stuff out of a barn at one point in time, then moved there to a bigger setup, which was a data center, and kept kept moving on up the value chain. So we created our own setup, our own set of facilities as we move forward. And during the dotcom boom, that's when we realized that the coding part, which we had a couple of developers, was very important. And I must tell you, people actually put their lot with us. My first guy that I actually hired was when I was studying for company secretary, right? Used to go to the garden part. Dad used to take me, चल fresh हो जा walk. एक बंदा एपटेक पढ़ता था वहाँ पे, 11 रुपए घंटे पे मैंने उसको लेके आया. मैं बोले तेरे पास कंप्यूटर है? नहीं. तो एक काम कर, कंप्यूटर हाथ लगाएगा? हाँ. तो बैठ के ये कोड लिख. मैं बेड पे पढ़ता था in the bedroom, and and that guy used to write do all the donkey work, writing same type of code. He's still an employee, by the way.
Employee code number one, by the way.
He's still an employee. He takes care of our Pune setup. And see, again, one thing we learned is keep good people close to you. Find talent which is wanting to move. That, I don't know, when I was young, I just saw that guy. I said, every single day for about 20-25 days, when I used to go to the to Siddhivinayak garden, he used to sit and study aptech over there. I'm like, itna bechara pad raha hai, isko chance dete, right? And that's how.
And I recently found a line for this where you've got to hire attitude and not skill. Skill is something you can build over a period of time. So we hired this guy. He was passionate. Again, obviously he had his own challenges. He wanted to recover money for his AppTech course. So he came on board, but he learned. He started with small type, and we started getting a lot of orders which I couldn't go ahead and complete the HTMLs for or the web design for. So this guy would support me. He would do the basic pages. He was Marathi, so he couldn't talk to the customers, but I would do that front ending. And that's where I realized I could subcontract it to different people and do much more than just sit and do code for people, talk to them. And that was my thing, that we would be able to get ourselves exposed to different people, build those relationships, sell ideas, take their ideas to the next level, give them more ideas on how they could grow their business with whatever little experience that we had gained while building websites for other people. Yeah. So the business grew step by step. There were two separate sections as such, which finally came off. One was the web hosting side, which now is the data center business, and we're running 3 successful large facilities in Mumbai, Pune, and Noida. And Neosoft Technologies, which is the graduated web development company, which today I would say 90% of its business is application development, software development. We work for a number of consulting companies like BCGs, the PwCs, the EYs of the world, working as their contracting partners, execution partners for software development. So that's how it graduated. Again, this wasn't clear on day one. As you move ahead in your journey, you realize that things have to be separated. We had to find this nice name called Neosoft, because otherwise we would be termed as a web development company only. Webworks says web, that's it. People would be like, no, you can't do software development for us. So we had to rechristen, find this nice name of Neosoft, and say now we're a software company. That's the division that helped us attract customers, that helped us attract talent as well, who wants to come on board. And like Nikhil said, building those relationships with customers that's selling, but you've also got to sell to your employees or people, stakeholders, families that you run. They should accept their people coming to your office and working out of there. And that is something that entrepreneurs should focus on. If you have a great team, hire for attitude, reskill them, help people move up the ladder. Like we've helped this guy from the garden to today managing the entire Pune data center is a phenomenal journey for him as well. 20 plus years with us. He knows us. He's, he knows he's one of the first employees. So again, there's a lot of burden on his shoulders as well to, keep innovating. Otherwise, suddenly there'll be a CTO above him and all he knows, he'll be reporting into somebody. So people also change. There is very good talent available in India. The only problem is they don't get opportunities. They get stuck in various well-paying jobs, or well-paying opportunities, without bothering about what kind of work they're going to get. So we as a Maheshwari community, this is my advice to all the friends over here, that keep reviewing what you're doing. It is very important for you to understand that you're adding value and not just CTC. So year on year, are you doing something different from what you were doing last year? Why do you deserve the 30% pay hike or 35% pay hike when you switch a job? Do you actually deserve that? If not, you've got to do something different. You have to add value. The same thing applies in a business. When you start off, you start with something. As you progress, as things come your way, you realize something is less time consuming, less profitable as well, but then you can scale it up. So you start pushing towards that. But there are other areas which are niche areas, which are big money, but perhaps cannot be taken to the next level as far as volume goes. So you've got to balance between those, and that applies everywhere, whether you're doing a job as a professional or as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. No, some real gems coming out of that, that story. And it is so energetic and energizing to just see the amount of passion जिससे आप अपनी story बताते हैं. It clearly has been a very rewarding experience for all of you. And I think audience में हर type के लोगों के लिए there were these gems, right, as takeaways for about 110 participants right now, and I'm sure a good 70-80% of them in some shape or form have chartered accountants around. So this is a live inspiration of how you can still kind of take your own path from where you are and find something new. So many gems for entrepreneurs, right from अपना पहला customer मत भूलो, अपनी पहली team बहुत important है. Just focus on the money and not on the frills. And of course, adding value, not CTC. I think this is like mind-blowing gems for all of us to take away. And that enterprise that is very I think characteristic of the Marwadi and the Maheshwari community at Broad, which is you kind of embodied, right? UNICEF के कार्ड से लेके एक वेबसाइट से लेके अब 2,500 लोगों का employment, right? And data centers for some of the biggest companies in the world. It is not small at all. And what I want to talk about next is increasingly, और हम भी जब बात कर रहे थे निखिल जी, निशांत जी, I think let's talk at a family level, right? I'm sure we can do a lot of things at a country level, at a community level, but I think यहाँ की आज जो audience है उनको I think let's talk at a family level. हम क्या कर सकते हैं, right? A typical Maheshwari household ज़्यादा risk averse होता जा रहा है, right? Where the profession seems like a safe option जहाँ पे risk कम होगा, and I'm sure you probably had those thoughts as well. At some point आपके पिताजी ने, अनिल जी ने भी बोला होगा कि कर लो ये, but then of course he also gave you the kind of encouragement to go for this. If you had to leave our audience and as parents mostly, right, with 2 or 3 kind of important messages on how we can still go ahead and have a slightly safer path, but still not really take away the option of entrepreneurship, or proactively, kind of encourage that when the kids are growing up. Because what I have seen is अगर आपको एक 24-25 साल तक उसका कहीं पे भी flavor नहीं आता, either through your own experience or through someone introducing it to you, your family, then I think it's a little difficult to expect for that enterprise to come from within. तो थोड़ा जैसे आपको एक taste मिला था, I think you also need to have that. I mean, anyone who's probably looking at this as a potential option needs to have a little bit of that, right? So any words for the parents and the grandparents or relatives in general?
So I'd like to add over here my own personal experience. Dad came to us and he told us, CA, is it the right thing for you? But there's one promise he took from us, that you will complete your education and at least do a master's degree. That MBA is very important as a fallback, because if the business doesn't perform, at least कहीं पर बड़े चपड़ासी तो बन, that was his word, बड़े चपड़ासी तो बन जाओगे. कोई अच्छी institution Bombay के अंदर, there are a lot of good institutions where you can do MBA from. We were fortunate, we were able to go to the US and spend at least a year over there, and also that helps us in the business also. But yeah, I mean, education is a must. You've got to focus on that. You don't need to excel. You don't need to be the ranker, because rankers are going to get absorbed by the top companies, and that's it. The CTC will take over your own passion, because the number there looks very big, and you're going to choose that over what you actually like to do, which is a major problem with the top 5 people in schools, top 5 people in colleges, top 5 people in IIM or wherever. So if you're that middle, and I believe Jack Ma also says this, you've got to be somewhere in the middle. You got to be not bad, you've not got to be very good, you got to be good. If you're good at that, you're good at your education, and you complete your education, that will help you in whatever you do in your life. And there will be opportunities which you got to be ready for. You cannot get into a comfort zone at least till you're 30, and you will get that entrepreneurship opportunity, or that opportunity to step back and say, I'm willing to take risk. I have my connects which I've built in my professional life. I have an education degree, so worst case, give myself 4 to 5 years. If this works out, doesn't work out, I'll go back into my corporate life, and lead the rest of my life in the corporate life. But the entrepreneurship will give you that edge over and above the other people who carried on in their professional journeys. So my recommendation suggestion is that be open-minded, complete your education, because that is the base on which you grow. That's also your fallback plan. And the third and most important thing is, whatever you're doing, be passionate in that. You should love what you're doing, whether it's a job or it's your own small shop that you're running. You've got to enjoy, and when you're enjoying, automatically, without the pressure, you'll start innovating, you'll start thinking of different ideas. You'll move into digitalization. For example, we get so many startups who come to us with very simple and no disruptive, it's just a very standard idea which nobody's thought of, and it's never been implemented, and they get funding, they're able to make the business profitable, and take it from there. And again, there will be a lot of heroes which you will find in that journey, who will assist you, handhold you, without even asking them for it.
Yeah, find your mentors, follow your passions of our families. See, our family, fortunately for us, provided us the right environment. My nana used to study. He was a gemologist from the UK, and his exams and all. He wanted to be a doctor. He never landed up becoming a doctor. He became a diamond trader. Right. One thing, he studied religion, not just Hindu religion, but other religion, just for knowing it. He played a very big influence on my dad. That kind of percolated down. See, what one advice is, that we should probably educate ourselves. I was actually telling my son that, if he looks at the mark, he's 13, and he looks at marks, padhai karni hai, right? I tell him, study for the knowledge, and this is common sense. I'm not talking anything. Study for the knowledge, not for the marks. The biggest problem that happens and that kind of kills entrepreneurship is because we have a tunnel vision. We start telling our kids, बेटा मार्क्स लाना है, नहीं तो IIT नहीं जाएगा, ये नहीं होएगा, वो नहीं होएगा, right? So in our community, in our families, what's important is, let the child find his passion. If he doesn't find his passion, that's fine. Not everybody is able to find it on day one. Not everybody is going to find it at 15, 16, 17. But let the child read more. Let the child read Tell Me Why. Let the guy learn so much more, right? Because once he reads all of that, see the knowledge today, the biggest teacher is history, right? If you look at it, history is the most, people say, ye kyun padh rahe hain hum? But history is the biggest teacher for us. We do that in B school. Case studies. What is case studies? A kind of history, and merged in with our the other snippets of finance and analytics and everything else. So if historically you go back, the kids are being taught maths hi pad. I think the important thing is to allow the child to grab knowledge, rather than, or individually also, for people right now over here, right? It's important that we grab knowledge for what it is. Saraswati, right? Lakshmi aa jati hai. Lakshmi is the result of Saraswati, frankly. And us Maheshwaris are very good at learning. Us Maheshwaris have that ecosystem. So I was mentioning earlier on, right? The money ecosystem is already there, right? The understanding of money is already there. Why does it come? Right? We are like, we're like, if you take Abhimanyu in Mahabharata, right? we are like the Abhimanyus already, जो आधी चक्रव्यूह सीख जाते हैं because बातें होती रहती. You go for a community setup, what do you hear? You hear all of that. So, you know, have your kids, you hear about, oh, that guy is doing this guy is doing that, अरे ये यहाँ पढ़ रहा है, वो ये कर रहा है. So naturally we are, what do you call, naturally born entrepreneurs. And I think over there, if we allow that to bloom in the family environment as well, by letting the kids, you know, tell the kids they should go out. I think the people should take, I mean, not to become bookworms, not to that, oh, I need to score 100 on 100, 99 on 100, stay at home. Take that risk, go out, you know, let them go out and, you know, start something of their own, even if it, even organizing internal stuff, right? Like being part of a community or going and doing charity, for instance, organizing that skill is an entrepreneurship skill again. It's one of the skills that life will teach you if you actually participate in it. So the families need to inculcate that. Always also the you know, Maheshwari community by itself, you know, we all, you know, generally have culminated from Rajasthan or whatever. We've always been, and I've seen that the more risk averseness is coming because the risk taking ability has been, you know, reduced because people think, like my dad said, CA kar, CS kar, MBA kar, right? Deadly degree, tero kabhi problem nahi aayegi. Why that thought process? Why that has to be there? Fallback plan, later on he recalibrated and said, that's a great fallback plan for you. And that kind of thinking, if we are able to bring in, okay, there are people at different levels. We were, you know, blessed with a silver spoon with dad working out of a top job. But then there are people who also need that push. There are people who may be economically not as well off as us. But over there, yes, the degree becomes important. But even there, they can inculcate, you know, my dad actually told me to develop public speaking when I was in 9th standard, go to Indo-American Society. The development of soft skills and other skills, inculcate that as well. Padhai is important, very important, but go and develop your voice, develop your speaking abilities, develop your ting tong, ring the bell, you know, shameless, pick up the phone, talk to anybody, right? That skill will only come if you go out. I've gone to places where, you know, in college, just took part in a Kotak setup. You know, dad allowed me to do that. He would have said, "Beta, padhai kar, ghar pe baith." No, he allowed me. जहाँ Kotak का ICSA कुछ bond या issue आ रहा था, I've gone to Chawls. Guy sitting in his banyan and explained to him कि भाई आप ICSA में invest करो. This is FY BCom, right? Did it. Just enjoyed it.
So practical training, you know, in other words, is very important. I should give you some, one of the experiences we've both had, you know, as kids, 7th, 8th, 9th standards. We in the summer vacations, I would go to my mama's office. He's into gem and jewelry. So small, again, Nana's office, we were always going in our summer vacations, but Mama's office, sit with him, see how he was dealing with people, or maybe even just order that idli and, you know, sandwich from Zaviri Bazaar right down in the office. But, you know, dealing with so many people, going and sitting in an office of probably 20 odd people was really fun time. Similarly, Nikhil's had a similar experience in one of, you know, the Bangur companies where he spent his summer internship when I think he was in the 9th standard, where, you know, they were setting up a new export business. So he got the opportunity to work as the CEO's assistant. And he was doing stuff like, you know, going to the bank, talking to, you know, getting an export order, or going with, you know, the manager to see what forms have to be filled up, which today don't matter because, you know, somebody does that for us. But the fact that we were on the ground, we learned, we interacted with so many people, we realized, you know, what business was all about. Demand supply कहाँ से आने वाला है, demand यहाँ से आ रहा है, supply अपन दे रहे हैं, दोनों को मिला रहे हैं, इसलिए पैसा मिल रहा है.
भाई ये जो example है, there's, I mean, we could go on, but ये जो example, that's classic. That put me in this export company under the CEO, Mr. Savant. I still learned so much. How he entered in this team, how he did, and what job I had. I had to go to SBI and pick up an LC. I was a chaprasi actually, if you ask me. Went there first time. They sent me, I went there. बंदे ने मैनेजर ने मेरे को बोल दिया अभी तो आप बैठो वहां पे. 3 घंटा बिठा के रखा, कुछ नहीं है, किड सिटिंग इन, यू नो, ओवर देयर. 3 घंटा बिठा के रखा, अब बैंक का टाइम हो गया, घर जाओ, ये और लेके आओ. सो नेक्स्ट टाइम आई वेंट, राइट, आई आस्क्ड हिम आपको क्या क्या चाहिए. ये लर्निंग मेरे को 9th स्टैंडर्ड में आ गई, राइट. अब ये एक्सपोजर इज समथिंग, you know, that you should probably have kids, even from professional families, go out and do this kind of stuff. I mean, it's not demeaning. It just teaches you, facts of life on what needs to be done, because these are skills that help you later. Going into detail, आपको क्या चाहिए? And next time, half an hour में मैं पूरा लेके आया, and the guy patted me on the back. Very
and
good.
street smartness. So
Street
when you
smartness.
go in there, how do you talk to the guy? You got to have a smile on your face. Hello, namaste ji, kya hai, kya nahi hai. How do you greet the guy, and get your work done at the end? You got to walk out of that door so that you don't come back again for the same job.
In 9th standard में उसने एक telegraph भेजा Bangladesh to sell some they were selling some stuff. He wrote, "My dear sister Begum, so much, some lady learned so much from that." 9th standard में that thing cracked in. So be observant. That families should expose their kids to as much as possible. Just send them out. If you got your own business, expose them. If you got other business, expose them to that. That is important. I think that's our my 2 cents to this.
No, absolutely. That I think that's great learning for all of us. Like, let kids participate in whatever they're curious about, interested in. And I think the just underpinning the importance of people skills, right? लोगों के साथ कैसे deal करना है, किसको क्या शायद अच्छा लगेगा, कैसे काम कोई मुझे help करेगा. I think is a very big skill to learn early on and does wonders for you. There are a lot of good questions coming in the chat, and हम कभी 1-2 minute video play करेंगे, उसके बाद we'll take them. But before we end this segment, I think it is only fair that while we've spoken about the interesting parts of entrepreneurship and the amazing set of experiences, हमें थोड़ा बात करना चाहिए about points where it has been very challenging, right? And the low points जहाँ पे आपको शायद लगा हो कि पता नहीं क्यों कर रहे हैं, but then something kept you going. But I think for the kind of benefit of the audience, so that they're not going into this just with dreamy eyes where everything looks golden, but glitzy, but of course there are going to be challenges and some flavor of वो क्या रहेंगे, right? So that our audience, especially the younger folks in the crowd, can थोड़ा visualize कि कैसे type के challenges आएंगे और क्या करना होगा उसमें.
Right, absolutely. So as an entrepreneur, the first skill and the only skill I would say that you should be developing is being a seller, because that helps you everywhere. You got to sell to employees in your company, which I believe has been, when we started the business, people would not believe in the business. We would employ them, give them a great package and everything. But 3 months on, he's got a little extra somewhere in a bigger, better, plusher office with a great chair and everything, and probably even better work than what we could offer. We would lose talent. That I believe used to, we would look back and say, when will we ever be able to get off this challenge? Today, we are off that challenge with 2,500 people. We're able to offer all the perquisites, benefits, which people look forward to. But I believe that is very, very important. And for that, you've got to be a great seller for, talent. People coming to you, touching to you, come with a dream also, which they want to fulfill. You've got to not only sell to them, but to their families also. Today, we have 2,500 people. I believe we're supporting close to 10,000 people. If everybody has an average 3 people in their family, we're supporting 10,000 people. And we've got to sell the company to them as well. Otherwise, they would tell their person who comes over to the employee who comes to us, or the team member who comes to us, that just move on to a maybe an L&T Infotech or a Tech M or somebody like that, instead of working for Neo or Webworks. So that skill, the selling to your employees, is very important. You will have these challenges as you move forward. You will lose great talent. You will lose a trained resource where the work comes back onto you. But be prepared for that. You've got to have a fallback. You've got to make sure you documented and structure the training in such a way that people should be at some point in time replaceable. You should be able to change people over a period of time, because you may have a bad hire as well. Everybody's not good. There will be some talent which does not fit into what you need them to have. So that talent selection, hiring and retention, I believe, is one of the most challenging parts which you have to be prepared for as a startup, and as you grow as an organization and a team also.
I think I have multiple points over here. The first thing, of course, when we are doing all of this, there have been lows, but I think more or less the lows will come from your competition, what you're in. You should be able to recalibrate, right? Sit down, contemplate. जो मैं कर रहा हूँ ठीक कर रहा हूँ, जो नहीं हुआ. Every day is not going to be a win. Every day is not going to be somewhere where you're going to find you start a company, right? You're you're going to lose. So I'll give you an example. When I started off, because I was in college, I needed help. And when I say help, I needed people, because मैं तो यार college जाता था, फिर classes करता था, कितना कर लूंगा अकेला, right? So I brought on 3 other people, and I gave them, I mean, as people who would get money out of this, someone from Chembur who would handle the central suburbs, someone from South Bombay who would handle South Bombay. I would handle whatever is required. I'll give them back-end support as well. And someone, I know these guys were almost my age, or actually all of them were older to me. Sorry, they were, someone had finished in engineering, whatever. And then someone from Vashi and others who would take care of that, right? What happened? In the first month itself, I generated all the sales leads, everything for them. 2 of them broke away. They started their own stuff. Now, the thing is, I recalibrated and I said, oh, now ye to leke hi chale gaye. Learning on first month, day 1 of the second month. So ye to leke chale gaye. These are the challenges you'll have. Don't get depressed. Don't worry. You've got to push on. Move forward and take it higher. And think this is not a loss. This is only an opportunity. I gave them stiff competition. I made sure that, and take it on as a challenge ki aage badhna hai, right? So a loss is a challenge. And as an entrepreneur, you have to make progress. There is no perfection. Every time when you start small, you will be doing your accounts. You will be doing, like this guy at $11 an hour that I brought on board, right? He was my accountant. He was my office boy, everything. Right? You'll have to do everything. You might have to take a look at your account. Get into details. If you're an engineer, fine. Don't get scared of account. If you're fortunately for us, technical came easy. And because we were in commerce and in finance, we did those courses. Law and others came easy. But I don't think that's going to be the same for the others who are there. Someone will do an engineering degree. He will have don't be scared of learning finance. Don't be scared of picking up the book. I lost my first programmer and the first guy I hired, and I had a dotcom project to deliver. I didn't know Perl programming, right? I sat for 8 hours, picked up a book, finished 120 pages, and then I recoded it. Now you take that as a challenge, learn your way through, and push through. That is the first thing. You don't have to give up. You should always think giving up is not an option.
And that's the easiest thing you can do. Giving up and that's it. I can't do it. Nobody can. And thank you. And that's good night. It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
You've got to take that challenge up, find, and there will be a solution. Like he said, pick up the book, do it yourself, look up your network. You'll find a whole number of people who will be able to, assist you at that point in time. So yeah, you've got to go head on with the problem.
Second thing that as Maheshwari is, knowing that, right, we are getting more and more risk averse, right? What is important is to also make sure that we, meet our responsibilities, right? When it comes to family, when it comes to, so one big part over there is trying to get financial independence. So make sure that your company, and as I say, recalibrate in 360 degrees. Don't just recalibrate for changing business lines. Don't just recalibrate for that. Think of it seriously. Spend some time, right? Go and find your, of course, this isn't, I'm not doing motivational talk over here, but go and find your time and spend time thinking about it. How do I recalibrate? How do I get my team back? What am I doing wrong? And also, how do I achieve financial independence? So that once I have that, right? And I learned this from dad, from a Panchtantra story used to always tell me. And again, every example is an example you can learn from. There was a mouse who could jump 20 feet high, right? I don't know, many people over here will probably know the story. A great intelligent man came and took out, the mouse is telling his story, they said, kuch to gadbad hai. They dug he said, dig in kiske dil ko khodo. खोदा दो, एक सोने की अंगूठी मिली और सोने की अंगूठी निकाल दो. चूहा बोला, मेरे को तो कोई मालूम ही नहीं था कि ये सोने की अंगूठी यहाँ है, मैं तो कूद सकता था ऐसे ही. What I learned earlier on from that story is that money, whatever form it may be, as long as you have that independence, it will allow you to jump 20 feet higher, right? A mouse can't jump 20 feet.
So you have to have some kind of a platform, and then that platform keeps growing as you
build it up,
progress. Yeah,
build it up, plan for that. Make sure that your personal and your professional, most times what happens is entrepreneurs start to think, let's take risk. They will take risk, they'll take debt, they'll write personal guarantees, of other people as well. So recalibrate. Your business should be making money. Your business should be making money day one. That is the best thing that can happen, right? If you have that, you have to put in the blood effort that we Nishan spoke about. Put in the blood effort. And as I said, make progress. There is no perfection in entrepreneurship. We're still learning. We're still learning, and many folks over here, the older community here, members of the community, I think we can learn a lot from them. We can even learn from people who are younger than us, right? We can learn from stories. So I think that would be our 2 cents for the.
No, that's very helpful. I think what remains true and will remain true is that alag facets mein challenges rahenge. I think at the very core, you need to have that spirit and the kind of the attitude to say ki nahi, will not give up, and there will be a solution. And of course, there are platforms, right, like what we have today, where there's probably going to be guidance from Nikhilji, Nishanji, Rathi for the audience here who are trying to probably start up on their own, looking for mentors, right? And I saw one of the questions also that had come in the chat box was, how can the two of you kind of, a message out there for the broader community on how you would be happy to help and how you would be happy to guide. We'll probably take that after a little bit. If Nikhilji, Nishanji, if we have the special guest ready, then we can probably invite them as well right now while we play the video.
Sure.
Yeah. Saurabhji, we could probably again flash the video. Yes, thank you.
शुक्लां ब्रह्मविचारसार परमा आद्यां जगद्व्यापिनी वीणापुस्तकधारिणीम् अभया जाड्यान्धकारापहा हस्ते स्फाटिकमालिकां विदधती पद्मासने संस्थिता वन्दे तां परमेश्वरीं भगवतीं बुद्धिप्रदां शारदाम्
थैंक यू सो मच। सो जो लोग आज हमारे साथ पहली बार जुड़े उन सब के लिए ये फिर से एक इंट्रोडक्शन था MVPM का, एंड काफी सारे लोगों ने मैसेजेस भेजे सेइंग वी वांट टू बी अ पार्ट ऑफ दिस प्लेटफॉर्म। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर शोइंग द इंटरेस्ट। जितने ज्यादा लोग आए उतनी ज्यादा खुशी होगी, उतनी ज्यादा अपॉर्चुनिटीज होंगी। एंड वी हैव अ वेरी वेरी स्पेशल गेस्ट, अनिल जी राठी, the star father of the two star brothers. Sir, welcome. Thank you so much for joining.
Pradeep, I think
so I should say he's the superstar.
Yeah. No, I am not a superstar. I am just a person who have watered the plants. It is finally the plant and the tree, how they grow and what direction they take. Of course, I was all along taking care of them. I thank you, all of you, for timely focusing attention of Mysore community to the tremendous potential of dynamic field like IT. You see, this is a great shift in our community's focus, because normal focus used to be a chartered accountancy, that means accounting and conventional businesses, kapra business, yeah, business, for business, uh, whatever comes our way for earning, good amount of money. That was the focus of Marwadis or Maheshwaris. But I now see lot of our boys and girls adopting IT and doing very well. And I would say this field is a very dynamic field. It requires continuous innovation, change, keeping abreast with latest technology which are emerging to remain relevant. And this is not, law or, the conventional fields where you study once and then you are capable of, earning for your whole life. To remain relevant, you have to day, you have to see what competition is doing, what technologies are coming. And I will say now, I think Nikhil and Nishant have explained you already. And I would say that initially, uh, at every stage, they have proved me wrong. My value was very, very clear. And that value was that they should do what they like. That means they should follow their passion. Fortunately, I was the CEO of a Bangalore company. Therefore, I had good amount of money. Therefore, I thought if they want to become, their passion is teaching, and they want to become a teacher of a primary school, they should do it. I don't have high expectation for them. Very clear, my money will take care of their luxuries, etc. But they proved me wrong. They, as a matter of fact, adopted technology, because I am from IIT Roorkee and FMS, MBA from FMS Delhi. So I was a bit disillusioned initially from by technology. Therefore, I thought that in Indian industry, more of commercial knowledge is needed, and why should I take them through technology, studying 70 subjects and all these things? Why not have a safer side so that they do their accountancy and chartered accountancy, etc. But in the meantime, when Nikhil started, topper of Raipur University was working under him. There were many technical people, engineers, system administrator, to whom he was guiding at technical level. And then I realized that chartered accountancy, it will be a disqualification for him for the work he is handling. Therefore, he came to me and I told him that you just give it up and do masters in computers and MBA and whatever you want to do, which complement your career or entrepreneurship. And same with Nishant. I was very clear. And then in the beginning, I was with them and they didn't need any money. As a matter of fact, I looking back, I feel that none of my money has helped them in any way, because they got a very good input from me in technology. Later on, I think I happened to go at that particular point of time abroad very often. We had collaboration with Chemtex USA Inc. and Commodore 64K memory. Commodore 64 used to be available in America. I brought it, and on that I created a financial accounting package for my share transactions, etc. And the data used to be stored on audio cassettes. Later on, in my next visit, I brought a hard disk. Then a hard disk also came, and I think Bill Gates had written the interpreter for Commodore 64 computer. So I became so much interested in computers that I thought the future is going to be IT. And therefore, these people, even if I'm putting them in commercial line, they should be, they should know about IT, then they will stand apart. And as I told you that I personally found that their field and their passion is in IT. And now you see that they started from a garage sort of thing and expanded. And we engage more than 2,500 people and induct around 500 people every year, minimum, new additional people. And that is, I would say, a great, I would say for them, uh, vehicle for progress, because that is a great karma, providing livelihood to so many people.
Absolutely.
And I'm very proud of them that they, as Peter Drucker says, that only two areas are most important in business. One is innovation, and second is marketing. And I would say they are taking care of innovation uh, like I never imagined. And marketing, of course, they have to work very hard, going abroad and getting the leads and contacting big parties and all.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining. आपने literally चार चांद लगा दिए इस webinar को आके, और पूरा package हमें साथ में देखने मिला, and it is so clear where all the inspiration, where all those those business practices coming from, and it is so inspiring to see all of you kind of. And again, that's what's also very unique in your case is दो भाई साथ में for so many years, right? And still going very strong, because you would typically see that there are and there is also a general perception around probably, oh, it's not going to be the best business partnership, let me find someone where I can have space probably. But like itna beautifully play out kiya in your case, which is really good. You spoke about, sir Anil, you spoke about how the importance of IT and computers was understood a long time back. And I'm sure audience में अभी बहुत सारे लोग हैं जिनका मुझे private message आया है कि given you also wear निखिल जी, निशान जी, you also wear the VC hat, right? और बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो कुछ अपना छोटा मोटा ट्राई कर रहे हैं इधर उधर, but वो आपसे सुनना चाह रहे हैं on the next set of 2 or 3 things that they should look out for, so that 20 years out they are giving a panel discussion like you on the other side, right?
Right. We hope so too, that the community goes to the next level. We have a whole lot of startups become successful, profitable, and therefore we started off Nextstar Venture Cap. It's a fund which we started out of our own investments into various startups. So we get exposed to a number of people who come to us either from a technology consulting standpoint, or for their cloud operations, or looking at moving their infrastructure into one of our data centers. So there are startups which we reached out to, and we started mentoring, not only giving them some cash to burn and grow their businesses, but more importantly giving them mentoring and hand holding to go to that next level. We were fortunate in our journey that we had dad who had had exposure from his professional life in whether it's legal, accounting, tax, and other areas where you could actually get stuck in India from a regulatory perspective. So we are and we were fortunate that we had him. But there are quite a few of people of entrepreneurs who get stuck in that bit. So they come up, they have a great innovative idea, but tax mein fas jate hain. And that becomes such a big hassle, or they're not able to look at their books, and it doesn't look profitable. How do we make it profitable if you're not looking at the numbers? And they get stuck on that. So we've been mentoring as a part of Nextstar Venture Corp, nurturing and mentoring a number of entrepreneurs in various technology and non-tech spaces, where they can grow and take their businesses to the next level. So we're happy and welcome applications on our website, or if they can reach out to us on LinkedIn, we'll connect them to the team, and we can understand what their businesses are about. If they're interesting, we'd love to invest in them as well.
Perfect. And to Rajesh Ji Ladda, who's in the audience, who had raised this question a little earlier, saying, how can you participate and help the community entrepreneurs who want to take this to the next step? So through MVPM, please reach out anyone who's in the audience or knows their peers, their relatives, jinke startup aspirations hai, they have an idea. and Nikhilji, Nishanji will be more than happy to mentor them in their kind of best capacity. The other question that had come up, which was also put forward by Rajeshji Ladda, and it is great that we also have Anilji Rathi who's here to answer this. And the question was around he's seen a full-fledged business kind of grow with their sons, and also have been a part of a very big business group. The question ye tha ki ethics and integrity, right? Again, one would associate any Marwadi-led business to be very, very strong ethically, and that's another kind of we're already ahead on the curve, generally because we have a very, very solid reputation that way. But from your take on entrepreneurship and kind of having run 3 businesses, how important is it and how has it played out in your case, right? Were there instances jahan pe laga tha ki this is getting tricky, ye challenging ho raha hai, but we still kind of stuck true to the principles that we abide by?
According to me, on the basis of our journey, I would say that the government has provided from the very beginning certain incentives, and if the entrepreneur takes care of, go for them. For example, for 100% export oriented software development, STPI scheme was there. That means there was total tax holiday, which means that all the profit which we earned from 100% export company was flowed back. We never took a single paisa outside, which means that if this would have gone as a tax to the government, then nothing would happen. But the thing is, the enterprise, the software multiplied. Similarly, SEZ scheme came, we went over there. So, if you are thinking of the ethics, normally people try to save some money. And this saving some money is an amount, somebody thinks that if I can save 1 lakh rupees in taxes, that's a great thing. Another person has got a perception that 10 lakhs rupees will be enough. But I think if one gives up this whole concept and concentrate on his passion, concentrates how he can give, grow more, give more employment to the people, hire create a center of excellence, create some sort of, you can say, differential advantage in terms of technology, cost, etc. That will go a long way. Then you will forget about saving 1 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees, etc. That is my take.
I'll just add over here in terms of ethics, right? See, you're right. Maheshwari community is known for the way we operate, the way we run businesses, the way we are known for making sure the same value system has to be in the system. When we look at our vendors, they are our partners, right? That is always the first thing that we should think, irrespective of how small the vendor is, right? Ethically, and you have to, Dad always taught us one more thing, that apni zaban pe you should be able to raise money from people, right? And when that comes in, that is your ethical practice. So today, if I was to pick up the phone, and I know all my vendors, a couple of them are Marwadis as well, but maybe Jain community or whatever, but yeah, and Gujaratis as well. So the idea is you should be able to inculcate that belief, and it's a true belief, because you yourself should have that principle in mind to make sure that the vendor can contribute positively. You should pick up the one crore rupee raise ho jana chahiye. So if you want to pick up equipment, right, the guy should be believing in you. See, today it's a world of corporations, but as a smaller company, you can't go to a Hewlett Packard and say, oh, okay, trust me or do that. It's always going to be the smaller entrepreneur or a smaller vendor who's going to help you out. Right from that ethically, you should make sure that you're true to the vendor. You don't create any problems to the vendor. He'll be true to you and choose your partners well. And same thing goes to your customer. We might say, oh, let's just cut corners here. Let's just cut corners there, right? And deliver whatever there is. As long as what he's asked for, and again, this is not being utopian in my thoughts and all, but as long as you're delivering what the customer has asked for, and the customer is not unscrupulous, make sure you maintain a standard of quality. Make sure you're delivering that standard of quality. That is extremely important. So ethics, principles, these should be always there when you do business, whether you buy or you sell. Taking, like what Dad said, taking advantage. The government provides incentives. Please be mindful about that. Most people don't even know that they could take this advantage. I know other smaller software companies, they could never take advantage because they were not even mindful. Now, over there, some might say, oh, principally, we are taking an advantage from the government when we don't need it. But if it's there, today we are able to create employment because of those things. So use your environment, again, ethically and principally correct. Use your environment to make sure you take maximum out of it.
Yeah. One last line. Business is a long-term story. So you got to stay invested in your own business and make other people invest into your business, and not money, but invest their time, invest their energy, invest opportunities into you. So business is a long-term story. Don't try to cut corners and make it a short story, because that's not going to take you a very long way. You have to deliver extra to customers. You have to, don't just give them what they want, give them more than what they want. Under promise, over deliver. I'm sure everybody's heard this line.
That's correct.
Yeah, and the matter of trust is important. You look at our Maheshwari business, Birlas, for instance, right? People trust it, right? It's so much more trustworthy than other groups also. Marwadis, Maheshwari specifically, our business should, have that and enjoy the trust factor, no matter how small we are.
But the problem which I see is, there are certain mind blocks which is there in our community, and many people have come above above those things. One is that we don't want to do the expenditure in the beginning, unless you want to open a small shop. You don't want to open a thing which, as a matter of fact, look beautiful, is good interior is done, and good people are hired. You see, initially you will have to do that sort of thing to attract the talent, attract the customers, and attract even the creditors. The people will help you out if your vision is broader. But if you say, okay, I'm going to first start a cycle shop and then we'll come to the car, people cannot wait for that sort of thing. You have to create that sort of infrastructure in the beginning itself. And if you are intelligent, you will be able to convince the people to finance that yourself or from outside. As I told you, I didn't have to use my money to give them, though I worked very hard whole of my life.
Yeah.
And at 73, I realized, and I at present also I work 8 hours a day with them.
Absolutely.
Because it is so thrilling and so exciting business.
Terrific stuff. And I think I totally resonate with what Nishanji was saying on how it is a marathon, and a lot of us probably treat it as these 100-meter sprints. And it's a very raw, that's a definite path to probably failure or challenges at least. So lamba game hai, you have to think long term, and of course that creates a very strong pillar, right? Being ethical and kind of having the right principles in place. In the spirit of kind of the time, and just cognizant of the fact that we're top of the hour, a last question specifically on your journey, and then we'll probably close, is a very specific question actually, which has come in, I'm guessing, from some of the budding entrepreneurs who have their startups right now. Is at what point did you realize कि आपको अपना team बढ़ाना होगा, and you need to hire, let's say, specialists for managing your people, specialists for probably selling, specialists in operations. So when is it in an entrepreneur's journey that you realize that?
You see, I think we have observed that there is a transition, and each transition requires a specific outlook and specific, you can say. So it is a continuous process, particularly in IT, it is a very continuous process. Okay. Now, I would say when we were small companies, that particular point of time, we could not hire very high salaried people. Okay, so we recruited from the universities directly. Our team used to go and pick up people, and we used to train them in e-commerce and this and that, etc. Knowing very clearly that these people will like to join Capgemini, and this is actually we have to take it in a stride. They are going to go after 1.5 years or so, and maybe some people will go after 6 months, but we will have to keep running that thing. Okay, so that was a time when we could not have the team leaders. Right. When with that sort of practice, we developed strong base. We said that the programmer who is best, he should be a team leader. He should not work. His new role will come. Thereafter, HODs. So as the company grew, it became that you should, the smart people should take a higher role, otherwise they have to go.
Absolutely.
So I have something to say here. So today you don't need to get an HR team or you don't need to get any of those because these are all available as a service. You can pay as you go with a cost per employee. And in your business plan, when you're spanning that out, there will come a point where you will see that it doesn't make sense to outsource this, and we should just make sure we insource it and have our own team because it can give our people better experience. Again, it makes the organization look bigger. So in your business plan, you've got to find that moment or find that year where you can absorb these costs. Now, these are all overhead costs. They're like the cherry on the cake, to be very honest, because and that's the only thing you see when you get a small or a large piece of cake. The first thing you see is the cherry, whereas you actually may not even get to eat it because there's only one on the cake. So you got to find that in your business plan as to where you can absorb these costs, and believe me, you will find that. Don't go overboard and you have 5 employees and you have 3 other people who manage these 5 employees, which is the HR team and the other people. You don't need them. There's outsourced services available out there which can do this and do it better than what your 3 people can. But when you become 50 or when you become 40 people, getting a team of the top 4 or 5 people who can help your team become better and add value, that is when you want to be getting these departments in, and then there'll be no looking back.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think so. With that, we'll bring this. We would love to go on for hours and hours, but I'm sure सबका आगे भी plan होगा on a Sunday. But this was very, very, very inspiring. Thank you so much, Nikhil ji, Nishant ji, and Anil sir. It was a pleasure hosting you. And we had more than 120 participants join, and of course, this will be on YouTube later. जो आज join नहीं कर पाए उनके लिए. And बहुत लोग इससे inspire हुए होंगे. And I think what I loved about the session today was there was something for everyone to take away. If you're a student, if you're a young professional, if you're a parent or even a grandparent, right? सबके लिए कुछ ना कुछ था सीखने के लिए. I'll take the opportunity, in fact, to thank some people who kind of made this possible today. Firstly, sincere thanks to the entire MVPM support system, really, for doing all of this on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. This is a great initiative. Mr. President, Mr. Atulji Lahoti, who joined us a little earlier and was chatting with us, Secretary Mrs. Sushila Ji Rathi, Malu uncle, who's behind the scenes, but kind of always really taking this to the next level. Dr. Aditya Ji Muna, who joined us again today and made this very special, and the entire MVPM Scholars Committee, Akanksha and Saloni, both of whom are on the call right now and who've been kind of running the entire show. So thank you everyone for making this possible and joining us today on this Sunday afternoon. Look forward to connecting. In fact, on the 6th of December, we'll have the next session in this series where we'll talk to more entrepreneurs. We'll talk about family businesses. We'll talk about more in detail about what the youth, the Maheshwari youth can be looking forward to in the next 5 or 10 years or so. So please do join in for that as well. With that, I'd like to close for today. Sabko, thank you so much. Jai Mahesh once again, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Also, before we all drop off, Mr. Gaurav Gittani ji, who also kind of helped us put this together. He's also on the call. Once again, plenty thanks to you for kind of putting this together and making it happen. Yeah. Jai Mahesh to all. Take care.
All right.